Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, I want to take a look at a fistful of trade paperback comics, mostly reprint stuff, of various comic creators and characters. But before I do that, remind you, my two books are available here: Bizarre Brain Comics Anthology and Bizarre Brain Comics Presents Heroes. The first one is some humor with a little bit of adventure. The second one is a little bit more mainstream with superheroes and some little bit of horror stuff in there, and all good fun. They are both available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble Books, online bookstore, and other online booksellers. And I thank everyone who has got their copy. And I also wanted to give a little shout out to a couple of other YouTube channels that I like to listen to. Heroes for Hire Comics. That's Heroes for Hire Comics. And Papa's Comic Books, Coffee, and More. Yeah, it's a long one. Papa's Comic Books, Coffee, and More. So here we are, several trade paperbacks, various characters, etc. Now we start off with this, and this is the first. This is The Middleman, the trade paperback imperative. Now, trade paper. The Middleman was as a series from, I think it was 2006, so it was from a little bit before then in regular comics, and trade paperback. And about 15 or so years ago, there was a very good but short-lived TV series of The Middleman. That was where I first heard of it. It wasn't until after that I found out about The Middleman, and even a few years later, when I finally got a couple of these two books. And this is by Javier Grillo Marco, I don't know how you pronounce that, with art by Les McLean. And it's has some nice artwork. And this first volume here, it was adapted for into the pilot episode of the series. It's so it's a compilation. I think it was 4 issues, and they made that into a 1 hour. A 1 hour episode, and it's basically it was almost straight out of the book, starting at the beginning with the introduction of the middleman, the concept, and it was very tongue-in-cheek. With comic book evil is real, and the middleman takes up the slack here. And this is the second one. Actually, it's the third volume, Inescapability. More of the same. A lot of fun. And again, comic book evil. Dealing with that. And they're both a lot of fun. And the show was a lot of fun because it was tongue-in-cheek while still having a lot of comic book references and pop culture references and the like. Then we have, this is from Now Comics, 1988. Is great. Ken Steacy cover, but it was Speed Racer Classics. Look at this, 225 pages for $3.75. You can't even buy a regular size comic for $3.75. And it is reprinting the original 1960s Japanese Speed Racer, some of this original Japanese Speed Racer stories. But of course, at this time, when they were doing that, they flipped the art, so to be read from left to right instead of right to left. And of course, this is by Tatsuo Yoshida. And it's some real. I was never a big Speed Racer fan. They at this time, Now Comics had the license for Speed Racer, and they were producing new Speed Racer comics with artwork by Ken Steacy, and I had a few of those. At the same time, they were doing some of Astro Boy, and they also published a volume similar to this, which I should have somewhere if I still have it. Astro Boy. Some classic Astro Boy stuff, and they were also producing Astro Boy comics at that time. A lot of fun. Then here we go. The official comics adaptation of the Tim Burton film Planet of the Apes, and actually, I have two copies. They're, the original and variant cover. And of course, and with some really nice interior artwork. I don't remember who did this. It's a Scott Alley wrote it. David Fabry did the pencils. Christian Dalla Vecchia and Christopher Ivy were inks. As all around nice production. Did a pretty good adaptation of the film, and whether you like the film or not, it's worth reading. I really liked and enjoyed that film in spite of some of the problems. Of course, in my opinion, the main problem was Mark Wahlberg, and then some of the writing had problems, but the makeup, costuming, and all that practical work was outstanding, and the actors did great jobs except Mark Wahlberg, and so that's 1 and 2 variant covers. Then here we have the comic adaptation. This is Batman Begins. It's the movie and other tales of the Dark Knight, and of course this is one of the cover is one of the movie posters, and then some other stuff. And of course, again, is a great Batman movie. Not as good as the Dark Knight, but still pretty doggone good. Again, some great artwork, good storytelling, all that stuff. And then, of course, but that's only part of the book. Then it has some reprint Batman stories, other tales of the Dark Knight. Is The Man Who Fails by Denny O'Neil and Dick Giordano, and Reasons by Ed Brubaker and Scott McDaniel. And they're both pretty doggone good too. Then we have, I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I don't care. It's good. I enjoy the movie, and it's a pretty good book. And Superman Returns, the official movie adaptation. Of course, this movie was intended to be a sequel to Superman 1 and 2, ignoring 3 and 4. And it's great cover. Oh yeah, and the great interior art. This volume is entirely some photo stuff. It starts a little differently than the movie and gives some of the background that had been edited out of the movie, but we know it was there because it was covered in the novelization as well. About him going to try to find a remnant of Krypton, etc., before he returns. Of course, some great artwork. Did a great job at capturing the likenesses of the actors involved. And here, you can clearly see that's Brandon Routh, but it also looks like Christopher Reeve. And of course, that's one of the reasons why Brandon Routh was was cast in the part in the first place, because he bore a strong resemblance to Christopher Reeve. But he did a great acting job, and they did a really nice job adapting the film here. And it has some problems in there too. I didn't like that he ripped the island up and sent it into space, etc. Then here we go. No movies involved. Trade paperback of Superman, the Man of Tomorrow, just featuring Superman stories written by Alan Moore. And some great, but this is reprinted in black and white and keeps the cost down. But one, I know a lot of people don't like that. Sometimes it depends on what it is, and I like. But one thing I like about the black and white, when something is printed in black and white, you get to see, you can get a better image of the quality of the artwork. And of course, this is the Jungle Line. This is a story that had Superman and Swamp Thing teamed up. And then it has, after that, here it is, For the Man Who Had Everything. Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons. It's a really nice work. This is a great story. And this, of course, was adapted to an episode of Justice League, the animated series. And then after that is Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the very last. Here it is, with great art by the great Kurt Swan, which is so appropriate, because if I can ever get to that part. Anyway, it's so appropriate that because this is the very last Superman story from the pre-crisis version of Superman. Of course, this is actually an Elseworld story. It's a story that never happened. It was in a couple of issues to tell it, and has been reprinted various times. I have this one, I have another reprint, and somewhere I still have the original versions that it was published in. And of course, in which major Superman characters, both friends and villains, die, and Superman apparently is dead from the world, is gone from the world. But is he? It's Superman, the Man of Tomorrow. And then we're going to finish this up with Superman Red Sun. And this is definitely an Elseworlds story, featuring is very well known. I think they've adapted it to an animated film now. I'm not positive on that. By Mark Millar, Dave Johnson, Killian Plunkett, Andrew Robinson, Walden Wong. And this is a really good story. I have 2 action figures from this. This is what if Superman, when he had come to Earth as a baby, had landed in the Soviet Union and was raised as a communist. And that's what it revolves around. And it even has a Soviet version of Wonder Woman, etc. And it's a really good storyline. And some great art. And I could highly recommend it. So that is what I've got to share with you this time. Well, it's stuff that is mostly some has ties to other media, except for those last 2. There are some really good stuff. And very interesting and a lot of fun reading. And I just pulled them out of one of my boxes out in the garage. Oh, that would be good to share. So I thought I would share it with you. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. Do leave your comments down below and let me know which of these you liked best. Have you read any of these? Are you familiar with them? The Middleman is probably the most obscure one. Have you read The Middleman, or have you seen the TV series? Let me know what you thought of that, or any the movie adaptations, etc. Some of these will at various times in the future may well indeed be delved more deeply into. So that's all I've got for you this time. So remember, comics are art.